Hey guys, it's Vincent here for Tiksu to UniTartu. Today is going to be all about accommodation in Tartu. We have two international students who will be discussing their experience with their accommodation options here in Tartu. One is from the dorms, and one is living out in town. And they'll give you a little insight about their experience living in the dorms and out in town and how that works for them. So please sit back, relax, enjoy this episode of Tiksu to UniTartu. Cody, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Cody. I am from the U.S. in Nebraska. I'm studying German language and literature in the second year's master's program, and I live off campus in my own apartment.
Hi, my name is Elfi. I am from Azerbaijan. I study science and technology, and I'm a second year.
All right. So talking about accommodation today, I just wanted to start off. How did you find your accommodation? Where did you start looking?
In Estonia, it's really common to use Facebook, so that's how I found my apartment. There's listings for apartments like on Facebook. I have 3 links that I wrote down. One is Foreigners in Tartu, which I really enjoy because the Foreigners in Tartu page is one that might specifically be looking for international students, and the posts are also in English, and they can also be shorter term rentals. And then I have 2 others, Uri Korterid Otseomanikul Tartus and Korterite Urimine Tartus. There are 2 other ones that are in Estonia to look for apartments, basically in Tartu. But I also suggested these other ones that are like in Estonian just because sometimes the posts can be on all 3. So I found my apartment, but it was also listed on all the websites. So just kind of like I would suggest writing down all of them and looking at all of them so you can see the posts faster in case there's a lot of competition for one apartment or not. And then you can already like try to set an appointment with the owner or with the current tenant.
Mm-hmm. And you were already in Estonia at the time when you started looking for your...
Yes, I actually recommend looking for an apartment if you're in Estonia, so that way you can meet the owner in person and see the place in person. If it's not possible, of course, you just can't do that. Because you can still like write to them on Facebook and explain the situation. But for me personally, I had more comfort seeing the apartment in person before like agreeing to sign a contract.
Yeah, for sure. And Elfi, my understanding is you live in the dorms. How was the process of kind of finding your spot in the dorm?
Well, it was really easy actually because the University of Tartu website clearly has like a part of the website. You click accommodation and it's very user friendly. It has a list of all the possible dorms, which for international students, their locations and the types of rooms they offer. So I live in Ratuse 22, which is also next to Narva 25 and Narva 27. In Ratuse 22, they offer an apartment with 3 bedrooms, and they all share a kitchen and a bathroom, and each apartment can hold up to 2 people. Mm-hmm. So you can choose the option of paying a bit more, but you have the whole room to yourself, or you can have a roommate, which is sometimes randomly assigned, or sometimes you can even pick your roommate. For example, if you have a friend, you just put it into the system, which is called Ekula, if I'm not mistaken, and you just put it into the system and say, hey, I want this person as my roommate, and sometime later, the dorms will inform you like, hey, this is the apartment we're going to offer you. Do you want it or not?
Great. And why did you choose the dorm over maybe your own place out in town?
Well, first of all, it was about the costs because I understood that when you live in dorms, you don't have to pay for utilities. There's a fixed rent for every month. However, for apartments, you have to pay for utilities. And knowing how cold the winters get and how much electricity I would use in that situation, I just wanted to have a fixed price and just be able to finance my studies. So also I wanted to not miss out on the social aspect. I wanted to meet people and like get to know people in Estonia better. So for me, dorms was the best option.
Okay. And Cody, why did you decide to move out of the dorms?
So I'm like the opposite of Elfi, I would say. I wanted somewhere that was quiet. I am working and studying, so I have like a really strange schedule that doesn't really seem to align because I did live in the dorms before. I tried different dorms. I tried different roommates. It didn't really seem to work with my schedule because we were always like trying to fight with when we can turn on and off the light. Oh. And so now living on my own in my own apartment, I don't have to worry about that. And I just was basically looking for a quiet place to sleep. And so that's why I decided to move out. And I did miss the social aspect of the dorms as well. But like I said, since I'm working and studying, it's kind of difficult in that respect. So I just have to limit it to a few friends and like meet less often. So
Yeah, definitely. So how would you guys rate each place in terms of privacy?
Honestly, I think every tenant has their own experience with privacy. I've heard some people who say that they have no privacy whatsoever and they feel very exposed and they hear their neighbors very loud and clearly and it really bothers them. But some people, me included, I don't know, I just don't hear my neighbors that much. My window looks out onto an open area, so there's no one who could see me out of my window potentially. Yeah, maybe every like Friday evening I can hear some people being very loud and very gathering with their friends to go out.
That's maybe expected with the international students in
Yeah,
the dorm.
but again, I hear them, but I really can't say that it bothers me a lot. So in terms of privacy in my living situation, I think it's pretty good. I think it really, really depends on your flatmates, your roommates, and I guess where your window looks out to.
All right. And Cody, how would you describe your privacy in your accommodation?
yeah, I always have a joke that I don't know if my neighbors exist because it's really quiet. I don't really hear them. But also just the building is built really well, so the walls are quite thick. So even if they are making noise, I don't notice. I really like the location of my apartment, so it's not actually touching the street. It's like a little bit further back, so I don't hear the cars from the street at night, for example. This is something to think about as well if you're living in the dorms, because all of them are on busy streets from what I understand. So it also, if you're living in the dorm, you can try to get an accommodation where the window's facing the back or somewhere else. But yeah, my accommodation is really good because I don't hear those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Things that bother me because I grew up in the countryside, so we didn't really hear noise. But maybe if you're somewhere that has like a lot of car traffic, you're used to it. I wasn't, so I needed to find a place that fit my needs better.
Yeah, I guess I kind of have the same thing as you with not seeing your neighbors. Like back home where I'm from, my neighbors are very involved in my life, and I see them almost every day, and they know what you're going on and what's happening. But here they're kind of like a ghost town in my hallway, I guess. So when you guys first moved in, was there something that you like immediately needed to buy for your accommodation?
Yeah, for me, I immediately needed to buy the bed sheets because when you're not a part of the dorm, you don't have anyone like looking out for you in that sense. You're kind of on your own. So, of course, the dorms offer you them, but I needed to do it on my own. But it was actually like quite inexpensive because you can go to like specific stores that are like kind of lower price. So there's like Pepco in the city center and also the Jysk store, which is quite far away. But if you go by bus, it's quite fast. So I just bought my bed sheets there. It was around the same price as the dorm was offering, so it was around 50 euros for the bed sheets or 40. So
Yeah. When you first moved in, like how many furnitures were there? Were there all the furniture? Was there TV, whatnot?
most apartments in Tartu come furnished. Mine didn't have the bed or the like desk chair, but the owner just said, "Do you need them?" And I said yes, so they just bought them and then they just have them in their apartment now.
And yourself, Elfie?
Well, same situation. I mean, the dorms don't come with anything other than your bed, your shelf, a desk, wardrobe, and obviously the kitchen stuff. So I knew about that. I would have to either buy the bed sheets from the dorm or somewhere else, but I understood that it's more cost effective for me to just take my own bed sheets from Azerbaijan. But the one thing I did buy as soon as I came was a kettle because I love tea. And surprisingly, the dorms do not offer any kitchen appliances other than a stovetop and fridge. So ovens, microwaves, rice cookers, kettles, that's all up to the tenants to provide for themselves. And you can either buy it together with your flatmates and share the costs, or you can just buy it yourself and use it by yourself. So that's something to keep in mind.
Is there anything that you guys really miss from back home, like when moving into these apartments?
Yeah, I really miss the air conditioning. In Estonia, I think it's not common. I know you can find apartments, for example, that have them. Mine doesn't. So that's what I think I miss the most because Estonia is not so hot in general, but sometimes in the summer months it can feel quite hot. You have to basically just go outside because sometimes the apartment can feel like a bit hot or just have the windows open a lot of the time. So
Yeah, something that I wasn't used to is when I came here, like one of the first things I needed for my apartment as I came in the summer was like a standing fan. And I'm not used to having to have one of those when I usually have the central AC. So it was kind of peculiar because when we went to the shop, the standing fans were all sold out. So I guess it might be a common theme.
Well, something that I missed a lot, other than air conditioning for sure, in the summer especially, was ovens, because I'm used to always having an oven and they're very convenient to bake food or pastries really fast. So when I saw that the dorms don't even have ovens, I was really surprised, and I still miss it to this day because I can't bake things.
So when I've gone through the dorms, I've noticed they've been stuff like rice cookers and also little like toaster ovens. And what I understand, there might be a little bit of a black market of when one student's leaving,
Yes,
passing it off.
there absolutely is. As soon as someone moves out, they always are like, "Hey, I'm selling my pressure cooker. Who wants it? 20 euros." And everyone's always on the lookout for them. It goes as far as someone who is graduating next year. You're like, "Hey, okay, so when you graduate, I'm gonna buy your rice cooker from you." So there definitely is a black market around appliances because everyone wants one. Or, for example, one apartment has an oven, which is a very high rated kitchen appliance because everyone wants an oven. So you just be like, "Hey, my friend is in your dorm. Can I use your oven?" Because everyone wants to bake and something.
Yeah. So you guys had mentioned budget a few times. I just want to ask, how much is your accommodation costing you now?
So my accommodation has a fixed rate of 290, but that doesn't include the utilities, which the dorms include. So 290 plus around 100. So it's about, I would just budget 400 per month for me, because of course in the winter it can be more. So for the winter 1 month for me, the utilities were like around 135, and then in the summer it can be less. So it can be like around 70. So I just budget like roughly 400 per month just for the year. So it's not so expensive, but it's definitely more expensive than the dorms.
Yeah, I guess you're paying a little bit more for that privacy that we discussed.
Yes.
And what about yourself, Elfi?
So currently in Ratsa 22, I rent 2 places in a supposedly share room. So I pay 289 euros a month, and that's fixed, and that includes utilities, laundry, everything. However, if you choose to have a roommate and save money, you will pay around 144.50 cents in euros approximately. But the rent changes pretty much every year almost, especially with inflation and stuff. But I think you can plus minus 30 euros. That's how much it's going to cost if you choose to have a roommate or just choose privacy and pay for both places in the room.
Sounds pretty budget friendly. How would you say like your commute to where you have to go is between class or work? Is it easy to get to where you go from your apartment or your accommodation?
Yeah, so for me, it's about 10-minute walk to the class and then 2-minute walk to my work. I can actually see the building from my place. So it's like I never escape work, but I never had to use the bus. But if I needed to use the bus for whatever reason, there's a bus stop right outside. So the bus stop is like 1-minute walk from my apartment. It's quite close. And then the buses usually come to that bus stop around every 10 minutes. So you shouldn't miss any place to where you're going or any appointments or anything. I've actually not had to use it, but it is an option.
So you mostly just get around by walking?
Yeah, Tartu's quite small, so for me, I've never really had to use the bus. I do have to use the bus sometimes if I am going to further away places. Like I mentioned before when we were talking about finding bed sheets, I went to the used store, which is in Aden, which is a bit further away. I mean, I have walked it before, but in the wintertime when it's cold and you don't want to walk that far, it's quite easy to take the bus.
And Elfi, what about yourself?
Well, I study science and technology, so most of my classes are in the Institute of Technology or Chemicum or Physicum, so that's in Marjomeisa. So I have to take the bus pretty much every single day. However, the bus stop is right under my window in front of Ratosa 22. So objectively speaking, I have absolutely no problems getting to class every single morning. All it just takes is a bit of planning. So if it's like a 15-minute or 20-minute bus ride, I just have to take that into consideration so I get to class on time. But other than my classes, I walk pretty much everywhere because, as Cody said, Tartu is really small and pretty walkable. However, in the winter times, buses really come in handy. And I must say that the buses in Tartu are really convenient. You can get to pretty much any spot using a bus. And yeah, in terms of transportation from my dorm, everything is pretty smooth.
Yeah, I would like to mention that the buses usually come on time. So if you're looking like you don't want to wait outside and you're just looking on your app and you see like, oh, it's coming in 3 minutes or whatever, just wait 2 minutes and you know it's a 1 minute walk. So then you walk and then the bus will come. So
Yeah, they are pretty on time.
mhm.
I've had varying experiences on the buses, but I'll take your guys' word for that one. Have you guys had any like maybe strange experiences with neighbors in your apartment or your building?
Not necessarily with my neighbors. However, once I was with my friends, we were doing laundry together in the common laundry room in Ratuse, and all of the machines were full, but one of them was already done washing, so we waited for the owner to come and get their stuff, but they didn't come. It took like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, we waited, they didn't come get their stuff. So we decided to just take their stuff out and lay it nearby, which is kind of common etiquette in these dorm laundry rooms because people are responsible. So I try to pull out the stuff, it doesn't come out. My friend pulls me while I pull the stuff, it does not come out. It took 3 of us together to pull this person's clothes out, and he filled the machine to the brim. We could not figure out how did that poor machine even wash his clothes, and we spent a good like 20 minutes laughing about how this guy did not wash anything at all.
I guess that's one of the struggles with having like a shared common space like that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And Cody, in terms of like appliances and stuff, what do you have available to you in your building?
Yeah, something that I like that the dorms don't come with is an oven. I really enjoy having it because I like to bake. And it's also a really big time saver is a microwave, which also the dorms don't come with. Of course, you can buy it on your own, but since my apartment already came with it, it saves a lot of time. It also has a fridge. Something I really enjoy is having my own washing machine, so I don't have to wait for a specific time in the dorms. Sometimes when I was living in the dorms, I had to wake up earlier to make sure I had a time to like wash it or like stay up later to make sure. But and also the dorms, there's the curfew, so you're not supposed to wash your clothes, I believe, after 11. I don't know if people are following that, but there's a sign outside.
Oh, well, midnight is like prime like clothes washing time, so you gotta.
But I just follow it in my apartment because I'm not sure of the exact rules, so I just follow that.
Yeah. One of the things that was kind of different for me is I don't have a dryer. And when I first moved in, I had to get a clothes rack and hang dry my clothes. And outside my building, there's big clothes drying racks that some of the older people will use. Do you utilize one of those as well?
Yeah, I was surprised that my apartment didn't come with a drying rack, so I had to go buy one myself. But I mean, they're like quite inexpensive. And they're light, so I could just carry it on my own. Mm-hmm. It maybe looked crazy with me just carrying a drying rack around the city, but I got it home and that's what I use. I actually like prefer it to like a dryer, which the dorms have dryers, but I prefer the clothes rack.
Yeah, that's something that surprised me, that there are dryers in the dorms. I figured out there were supposed to be dryers, but back at home we never use dryers. We always air dry everything because it's like the cheaper and eco-friendly version. So it was actually my first experience ever using dryers, but I like them a lot. It dries my stuff really fast.
And then I also wanted to ask you guys, maybe do you have a favorite place in Tartu that you might want to go live, or is right now where you're living the best place for you?
Yeah, right now I'm living in Supilin and I really enjoy living there and I don't think I'd want to live somewhere else. I just really enjoy it. It's quite quiet. It's also right next to the botanical gardens, so that's some place I really enjoy. You can walk through the botanical gardens for free, so I walk through it every day on the way to work. So it's quite a different perspective in Tartu to be able to see the botanical gardens every day, as opposed to like having to take a special trip there. So I would say I would like to stay living. It's also quite close to the store, my place, and also the bus stop, and also my classes. So for me, I wouldn't want to live somewhere else.
I agree with Cody, but on my own terms, that I'm extremely happy about where I live. My dorm is right next to 2 supermarkets, a pharmacy, the bus stop, and it's like a 5-minute walk from the city center. I'm in a very convenient place, both for leisure and studies, and I would not have it any other way.
I live in the Kesklin right now area, and I personally would like Karlova just because of all the cats there, and I'm very, very, very fond of cats and all the street art there as well. But that's kind of all the time we have right now. Before we go, I wanted to ask you guys if you have any extra tips or tricks for people trying to find an accommodation in Tartu. What would be your number one go-to tip?
Well, actually, I have a blog written on this topic. So if you go to isablog.ut.ee, you can find lots of helpful blogs, but there's one I wrote specifically about the first things you should do when you do move into dorms. So check it out. There's a lot of information there.
I would just recommend, if you know you're coming to Tartu, to apply to the dorms early, because otherwise they can fill up. And also, if you're looking for an apartment, also maybe start looking earlier. But if you've been accepted, just know, oh, I already need accommodation, so I should start looking now.
Yeah, because a lot of times I see people that are coming here and they've already arrived and they're, guys, I need an apartment. And it's definitely the best advice is to start looking right when you know you're coming here. So thank you guys for joining us again today. We will be seeing you next time. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Tiksu to UniTartu. We hope you had a chill time with us. Make sure to follow the University of Tartu social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, X, and LinkedIn. And if you have any questions for us about the podcast or topics you'd like us to cover in the future, then let us know. And this has been Tiksu to UniTartu.